CBS 8's Jenny Day. Welcome to Around San Diego. So glad to have you with me. We'll get you caught up on a week's worth of news and look ahead in just 30 minutes. It's fast-paced, carefully crafted to cover all of San Diego, the good and the bad. We'll share the top stories with you, as well as something you can learn from and hopefully give you a reason to smile. We do begin, though, with the recent storms. The Ocean Beach Pier will remain closed indefinitely after our weather led to serious damage to the local landmark. A high surf advisory was in effect for all of San Diego coastal areas. Friday and Saturday now, we could see the highest tides, and San Diego lifeguard officials say it could lead to even more damage.
Primarily, it's the high surf that does it, more so than the high tide. But when you combine those elements together, that's when the pier is at risk of getting damaged like it was on Friday.
Yeah, the pier has taken a beating during these recent winter storms, and future projects for repairs are in the works, but it could cost the city millions of dollars. Yeah, no doubt. It has been quite a week of wet weather, with more expected this weekend. The high surf caused flooding in many of San Diego's coastal areas, even turning the Mission Beach boardwalk into a river. Wow. The powerful high surf also left a mess across San Diego's coastal communities. Waves crashed over the seawall, pushing ocean water and sand onto people's patios, even into some homes, leaving some people along the beachfront really with a mess to clean up. Conditions are expected to stick around, as we mentioned, for a bit longer. And speaking of those swells, two complete strangers met at Beacons Beach in Encinitas on Monday, all right after the right person came across a missing camera. A local surfer was reunited with his GoPro after it was swallowed up and then returned by the ocean. It had been underwater for almost a year. Here's more on the happy homecoming. Gavin Chong got this GoPro camera for Christmas in 2021.
Just to film like videos of me surfing. It was on my board, like on my nose.
19 days later, it fell off his board.
I tried to swim down and find it, but I knew instantly that it sunk, so it was pretty heavy.
It's been in the ocean since, almost a full year lost at sea. The case scratched, cracked, and full of water, but perhaps unearthed by the recent storm.
Probably the swell that came in this week. The big waves probably pushed it in.
Someone else found it first and put it up near the trash can, and then it caught Jolie Hubbard's eye.
I'm a photographer as well, and I just know how important photos and memories are to people, so I want to do my best to try to find who lost it.
The camera itself is waterproof and the SD card was intact. So after just one day of searching for this little shredder online, she found the rightful owner.
But yeah, it's still in good condition.
It's crazy. It looks amazing.
And we were there for the reunion.
Look familiar?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So awesome. There you go.
Thank you so much.
The now 14-year-old has been surfing since and is thrilled to be able to look back at his progress and make some fresh content.
Keep surfing, San Diego.
Yeah, talk about the power of kindness and her going the extra mile, the power of social media, all of the above. Such a sweet story. Excited to see what Gavin does next. Well, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria delivered his annual State of the City address on Wednesday. This was Mayor Gloria's third State of the City address, his first, though, in person. He actually started the speech by applauding our efforts as a city to navigate COVID. He also signed a new executive order to get affordable housing built faster. But another top priority for him is our roads. The mayor continued to pledge to get things done and listen to communities that have been neglected. The mayor's budget last year marked the largest investment in infrastructure in the city's history.
Between repaving and resurfacing, we are repairing 283 miles of city streets this fiscal year, over 40% more than the prior fiscal year. And hear me very clearly tonight, next year we will do even more.
Yeah, this includes sidewalks and streetlights. He also has plans to hold those accountable who dig up the streets for underground repairs and don't always leave them in good condition. The mayor talked about construction that's underway for fire stations in the Torrey Pines, Skyline Hills and Fairmont neighborhoods. 9 new parks opened in 2022, and the city completed upgrades on 15 more. There's also new funding for libraries in Oak Park, Ocean Beach, City Heights, San Carlos and Linda Vista. The city is also focused on being fully staffed and competitively paid. Last year, San Diego firefighters and paramedics responded to more than 180,000 emergencies, and lifeguards performed more than 8,000 water rescues. The mayor says crime also decreased by 7.5% in the past year.
Investing in our workforce is investing in our neighborhoods. It's ensuring that your city government is accessible, responsive, and in service to our communities.
Yeah, another way the city is helping local law enforcement is the construction of a child care facility for parents working in the police department. San Diego will be the first city in the nation to provide this service. The mayor also focused on fentanyl and wants to hold dealers accountable. And the mayor says, in fact, that fentanyl is actually one of a number of factors that have complicated efforts to get people off the street. Just before walking on stage, he signed an executive order for 100% of affordable housing projects to be approved by the city within 30 days. He said the city made progress housing the unsheltered and got more than 2,000 San Diegans off the streets last year. However, for every 10 people who are housed, 13 new people become unsheltered.
The reality is there are San Diegans who are simply not able to keep up with the rising cost of living. And it is clear that we must focus more attention on the upstream causes of homelessness.
Yeah, if you want to watch the mayor's full speech for yourself, you can find the video on CBS8.com. Meantime, thousands of San Diegans got new trash bins this week. It's part of the organic waste recycling program, which is designed to fight climate change. New green bins and kitchen pails were delivered to homes in the Barrio Logan, Golden Hill, and Choice View areas. The bins are for organic waste like food scraps and yard waste. The city will send this organic waste then to the Miramar Greenery, which will convert it into compost. Well, the city of San Diego is also closer to banning all wood beach bonfires unless they are in a designated pit. Council members held a final vote on Tuesday. The ordinance passed after it was first proposed in May. City officials say the new policy will reduce burn injuries and improve air quality in beach neighborhoods. It now heads to the mayor's office for his signature. And the city of Imperial Beach also has a new roadmap that details plans to bring new life to the city. The multi-million-dollar plan hopes to improve the pier. The city looks to give Palm Avenue a facelift and install bike paths, large sidewalks, and trees to make the area more walkable and livable. The Bayshore Bikeway along the San Diego Bay will eventually be then connected to the border. Residents and visitors will see these plans in action over the next 4 years as the city looks to build off of the old city improvement plans.
Really bringing the equitable portion of it to the forefront, making sure we uplift communities that in the past might have been disenfranchised so that we can really have a true community thrive.
The city has already started adding new signs to the pier, but plans to make major upgrades within the next year. And Ped West made its long-awaited reopening on Monday at the San Ysidro Port of Entry. It's been nearly 3 years since it closed at the start of the pandemic. The reopening should help with wait times while crossing the border. Before shutting down, Ped West was open 24 hours a day, but right now it'll be operating on limited hours. People can cross from Mexico into the U.S. between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. The crossing into Mexico is not open yet. Well, President Biden met with Canadian and Mexican leaders this week to tackle major issues in North America. He met with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Some of the pressing topics discussed included immigration, climate commitments, and the supply chain. The three countries vowed to work together on shared goals. Well, after years of surplus money, California is facing a budget deficit. Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled this week how he plans to address the budget. Our political reporter Morgan Reiner has more on that deficit and exactly how much money we're talking about.
California is facing a $22.5 billion deficit, but Governor Newsom says he is not, as of now, planning on dipping into the rainy day funds. Instead, he's going to cut back, delay, shift around some funding in order to prioritize what Newsom says is the most important.
Last year, California had a $97 billion surplus. So much money that cash is still being handed back to Californians in what the state is calling the middle class tax refund.
A shortfall of 22.5.
A stark contrast to the news Tuesday, a $22.5 billion deficit. Why? California is a state that relies on high earners, and capital gains taxes were lower.
It's an EKG, and that sums up California's tax structure. It sums up the boom bust.
But Newsom said he will not waver on his priorities, like education.
It's the universal school meals. Again, no one does what we do.
Or health care.
You see here the universal coverage, regardless of immigration status. We're all in. We're committed. We're not touching that.
And he will not be using any of the money California has stowed away for rainy days.
Why? I don't need to tell you what you already know, some of you more intimately. If you've been trying to buy a house.
Interest rates are high, and Newsom wants to save the reserves in case the economy gets worse. So how does he plan to address the deficit? By either delaying or cutting billions in funding from previously funded programs, like zero-emission vehicle programs. And if that doesn't work, there's another $3.9 billion that could be cut if necessary, called trigger cuts.
The two big ones on the triggers, which is climate and transportation. Why climate and transportation? Because of the magnitude of those budgets. Unprecedented.
Republican Senator Roger Nealo is happy the governor's not tapping into savings, but says the state could have avoided this.
Don't obligate more than we have, and don't obligate more than we think we're going to have. We continue to do that in this state, and we run through these difficult cycles.
Like other states
that have managed their funds so that they're even looking at reducing their income tax load.
This is the first budget proposal. Newsom has until May to update and revise this proposal as the state gets new revenue figures.
Morgan, thank you. And 2 years and 4 days after his wife, Maya, went missing, Larry Miliete is in court to find out if the murder charges against him will go to trial. Day one of what's expected to be up to 2 weeks of testimony in the preliminary hearing wrapped up late last afternoon in a downtown courtroom. CBS 8's Richard Allen breaks down what happened.
You never expect to hang up the phone and be in a situation where, everything's changed for their family, and there's just certain things about that will live with me forever.
Destiny Johnson, the prosecution's first witness, works at the divorce attorney's office that Maya Miliete called on January 7th, 2021, the same day that Maya went missing.
She did not want to do the appointment in person because she was afraid that, she would be followed.
Johnson testified that Maya, a mother of three, was afraid of her husband Larry Miliete's reaction if he found out that she was seeking a divorce.
The fact that she didn't have any access to money, she wasn't feeling safe to come to our office in person, those things all kind of told me that this is not a normal divorce.
While Johnson had urged Maya to come in the following day, she said Maya was adamant that she could not come in until after a family trip to Big Bear to celebrate her daughter's birthday.
I knew that she was looking so forward to the trip with her children, and she didn't get to go.
The most emotional moment in Wednesday's preliminary hearing when Johnson testified she felt remorse for emailing Maya an intake form from the law office indicating Maya was seeking a divorce.
I feel like that was maybe something that was discoverable, and it has made me question my role. And for that, I'm just not going to forget it.
Today's hearing also provided a look for the first time inside the Millietes' home, as forensic specialist David Garber with Chula Vista Police discussed the photos he took while carrying out a search warrant on January 23rd, 2 weeks after Maya's disappearance, pointing out damage in the home's bathroom and master bedroom.
There was damage to the door leading to the main bedroom.
The prosecution also pointedly asked Garber if any clothing or makeup or other personal items appeared to have been removed or were missing.
The closet appeared to be completely full of clothing. Nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary, in my view.
One of the biggest challenges in prosecuting this case, the fact that Maya's body has never been found. Criminal defense expert Gretchen von Helms.
Right, because there's no body and because there's a lot of different explanations for where she might be, a defense attorney would be very able to defend this case. Not that the prosecutor won't, at the end of the day, obtain a conviction depending on what evidence they have, but it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, Richard Allen there reporting just tragic story with a lot of interest. Well, a former student at Grossmont High School says that she suffered a humiliating sexual assault at the hands of one of her teachers, which she says took place in front of her class. CBS 8's Richard Allen also has more on this action that she's taking to, in her own words, hold the school district accountable, as well as the district's response to her allegations.
Well, that's right. After reporting this alleged sexual assault, which she says took place in front of her class, that former student here at Grossmont High School, who was 17 at the time, says that the district allowed the teacher in question to return to his job and the classroom after a 2-week suspension. She now wants the district to be held accountable.
I felt embarrassed and ashamed.
Asking that we conceal her identity, this former Grossmont High student says that she continues to suffer mental and emotional anguish over what she says happened in her 6th period government class in October 2021 at the hands of a teacher she had grown to trust.
Like, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything. He was like my second dad. It just makes me want to throw up.
She says that as she was leaving class to use the restroom, she felt her teacher reach down into the back of her jeans as he pulled her towards him.
When he had pulled me aside, there was skin-to-skin contact where the only way you'd be able to touch is if you went into my jeans near a very intimate area. I could like feel every breath he was taking. I could like...
She says as she turned to him, he smirked at her.
He's like, you know I love you, right? And I was like, yeah, because what do I say to that? He was like a second dad to me.
She says he then began to comment on her cleavage.
He's like, well, you're showing a little too much. And I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, yes, you are. And I wasn't going to argue with him, so I was going to go to the door.
And as she tried to leave, she says the teacher then slapped her butt twice.
It happened in front of the class with like at least 25 to 30 students. It's really embarrassing.
Frightened to speak out at first, she reported the incident to her counselor at Grossmont the following day, leading to an investigation, including a police report she filed along with her father. El Cajon police confirm a report was filed, although following an investigation, no arrest was made.
When I found out about this, I mean, I was so mad and in shock. I just didn't know what to do or to say.
School administrators informed him and his daughter that the teacher, who has since passed away, had been placed on suspension. But only 2 weeks after her initial report, they say the teacher was allowed to return to his job and the classroom.
I was like, what? What are you talking about? This guy needs to be disciplined, investigated, charged, and if not, fired. I mean, he does not belong in class doing this to girls.
The decision to allow the teacher to return to class sparked widespread protest by hundreds of other students. In response, the school's principal assured students in a message to the student body that an appropriate and thorough investigation had been undertaken, adding that our district would never return a student to an unsafe learning environment.
I just wanted to throw up. I didn't want to encounter him at all.
Unable to fathom the thought of returning to the teacher's class or even running into him at all, she completed the rest of the school year online at home, essentially robbing her of her senior year.
It just makes me really sick to the stomach, and I just hope it doesn't happen to any other student.
To that end, she has filed a lawsuit against the Grossmont Union High School District for failing to protect her and other students. This suit was filed in October of last year, a year after the alleged abuse took place, and a month after the teacher at the center of those allegations died of natural causes.
The district failed miserably, and they need to be held accountable.
If it's happened once to me with the district, who knows how much this has happened to other students. If they could just sweep it under the rug, or try to. I just want my story out there to get justice for myself, but for other students to hopefully say their story and not be scared to.
And CBS 8 reached out to Grossmont Union High School District. They say that they cannot comment on confidential personnel or student issues, and also added, without providing details, that they dispute many of the allegations in the legal complaint.
Richard, thank you for that report. Well, it is estimated that 2 out of 3 Americans don't have a will. Not having one can leave important decisions up to a local court and your state's laws. And as CBS 8's Rocio de la Fe reports, it can also make it more difficult for your loved ones after you pass.
Legal experts say most people fail to set up a will because it can be a difficult and uncomfortable conversation to have. But avoiding the issue altogether can have damning consequences for your loved ones. And one legal expert tells me a will is only one part of the estate planning process.
And these are touchy subjects for many people and many families.
In 2022, only about 33% of adults in the U.S. had a will. That's according to a survey from Caring.com. California estate planning expert Kern Singh with Singh Law Firm says it's important for families to start having the conversation.
You definitely want to make sure you take the steps to protect your family. I tell everyone this all the time. The most important asset you have is your family, and the best gift you can leave behind is making sure that they don't go through the probate process.
If you die without a will, a local probate court then has to decide how to distribute your property.
This process is messy, it's convoluted. Now, we want to absolutely avoid it at all costs.
Singh says that process can take months or even years to sort out.
The probate process can take 2 years or longer. The court costs and attorney's fees are set by California statute. They're typically anywhere from 4 to 8% of the fair market value of the estate being probated. And then at the end of the probate process, we kind of lose control over how these assets are going to be distributed.
And even though having a will and testament doesn't allow you to skip probate completely, it's a start to make the process smoother.
A will does not help us avoid probate, and that's the unfortunate thing when people don't understand. A revocable trust is the document that actually assists our families with moving forward, avoiding the probate process altogether.
Artists like Julio, Prince, Pablo Picasso, Michael Jackson, and more all died without specifying who should inherit their money and estate. Singh says with a will, you can choose who inherits your assets and name a guardian for your children and pets. It can also help family manage your digital assets, which can include photos and videos and social media accounts. And Singh says the sooner you take action, the better. Don't wait until it's too late. The documents should also be reviewed and updated every few years to make sure your family stays protected. And even though it can be a tough conversation to have, an easy way to get started is to be sincere about your intentions and stress the importance and benefits to everyone affected. If you want to talk to your parents about a living will, one tip is to talk with your siblings first. Rocio de la Fe, CBS 8.
Yeah, truly so important, Rocio. Thanks. Well, now to a topic that's generating some heated debate. Could gas stoves eventually be banned in the United States? The Consumer Product Safety Commission raised that possibility this week, with one of its commissioners warning that using gas stoves is a hidden hazard. One study found that nearly 13% of current childhood asthma nationwide is attributed to gas stove use, linked to the chemicals that it releases.
Unfortunately, the vast majority of Americans have no idea that every time they cook, they could be subjecting themselves and their loved ones to toxic chemicals.
Yeah, the federal government is offering rebates for Americans choosing to switch from gas to electric, including a rebate of up to $840 for an electric stove or other electric appliances. For more information, just head to CBS8.com and click on the help button. Well, it's a story we first told you about a few weeks ago, but still the egg shortage is leading to empty shelves at local grocery stores. CBS 8's Shannon Handy checked out a few places and has more on what she found and whether or not there's any relief in sight.
I went to several stores and I found either empty shelves or if there were eggs, they're a lot more expensive than they used to be.
All right, that's fine.
At Hilliker's Ranch in Lakeside,
I have medium flats right now for $5.75.
business is booming as more and more people scramble to find eggs.
Slowly but surely, we've been seeing more customers come in because of the shortage.
Owner Frank Hilliker says the ongoing egg shortage is a result of several factors. For starters, a strain of bird flu first discovered in early 2022 has resulted in the deaths of more than 50 million chickens nationwide. Hilliker says that combined with the holidays and inflation has led to fewer eggs available.
In the holidays, not only are people buying eggs for their regular breakfast, but they're also baking a lot. And on top of that, eggs are the most inexpensive source of protein you can buy. We see what's happening to all the proteins in the store, and they're going through the roof, but eggs are still your best bang for your buck.
As for the eggs you can find, they're pricier than before by a lot. According to the Consumer Price Index, eggs cost 49% more than they did a year ago due to supply and demand, as well as the higher cost of supplies, labor, and transportation.
So the egg cartons, the boxes, that's almost doubled. Fuel, 50% up. Labor, 15-20% up.
Of the stores I checked out today, half had no eggs in stock. The ones that did were charging around $7 or more a dozen. Some customers say they don't plan to buy any until prices go down.
Once the price drops, I'll go back to, making my breakfast stuff with eggs. But right now, I got to, watch the budget like everybody else.
So when could that happen? Hilliker expects things to normalize within the next few weeks.
I'm watching the wholesale egg market, and the price is starting to go down, so that tells me that there's more eggs available.
Until then, you can hold off. If you want to make the eggs you do have last longer, keep them in the fridge or crack and freeze them. And if you're not having any luck finding them, shop around or visit Frank, who says with 30,000 chickens, he doesn't anticipate running out anytime soon.
Everything's just a little bit scrambled right now.
Here's another tip. Check with your local store to see when they restock eggs so you can be the first in line to get them. For CBS 8, I'm Shannon Handy.
Well, they are essential to our ecosystem, but climate change and other natural disasters are posing a big threat to the bee population. But there is something you can do to help keep the population thriving. CBS 8's Sean Stiles explains in this Earth 8 report.
We're looking at over 100 bee colonies here, and these are essential to the survival of humans as well as agriculture. But the hurricanes that went through Florida, Ian specifically, literally wiped out tens of thousands of hives, as well as taking away the food they needed to survive. By late September, beekeepers in the east had moved their hives to milder weather in Florida to take advantage of the Brazilian pepper tree bloom. Their timing couldn't have been worse.
Most of the northern states have already delivered their bees down to the southern states in order to take advantage of those longer days, the longer beekeeping season, and the things that are still blooming. And they really are an asset to our world.
Travis Wolf is the owner of Bee Leaf and says Florida bees got hit with a 1-2 punch.
So not only did the bees get beat up, but their food got beat up at the same time. So it created a double-edged problem for our upcoming pollination season.
Florida beekeepers like Jeremy Ham were trying to save their bees with supplemental nectar.
Some of these bees have gotten 3 shots of feed, and that's a gallon. So you're talking about 36 pounds of feed already. And you can still go back after they suck the feed down, and it looks like they never were fed at all.
This will be used for liquid bee food.
Supplying beekeepers was Man Lake Bee and Ag Supply, and they were producing sugar water nectar as fast as they could. To offset costs, federal aid was available through application, but others were helping, like the Greater Good Charities, which donated a 1/4 ton of pollen supplement. Casey Paholski
where we have donated meals to food pantries for humans, we've donated animal supplies to animal shelters, and now we're donating this bee pollen substitute to these farmers here.
For the bees that did survive, the next move for pollen and nectar is here to California for the almond crop, which has been shrinking because of the mega drought.
If the drought takes out the almond crop in California,
the whole beekeeping industry is going to be in trouble.
Andrew Wagner is from Man Lake Bee and Ag Supply and says bees have become dependent on humans for survival.
And if all the beekeepers released all of their bees, every beekeeper in the country, if they just released all their bees into the wild, we estimate it'd be about 2 to 3 years before bees would just collapse.
The use of uncontrolled pesticides, encroachment through development, and invasive pests are the reasons. And here in San Diego, Travis Wolf agrees. Kind of.
We've created a mutual dependence upon bees, and they've created a dependence on us. Now, that said, I am a firm believer that if we were to neglect all the honeybees in the world, their bees will find a way to survive.
By making the right choices, even small ones, each of us can help.
Or the biggest way we can do that is just planting trees. You don't have to get a big, huge tree. Plant a little one. You know, you can follow an initiative, help any sort of bee organization that does wildflower planting.
That's a twofer. When the trees bloom, flowers for the bees and offset carbon. The other, spraying pesticides on flowering plants.
And they're very effective. The problem is that bees will intercept that, take it to the colony, and ultimately can poison themselves.
So now you can see how fragile bees really are and how important they are to our existence and we are to them. And as Travis said, if you eliminate a few things around the house and add some, you can help the bees out in survival. Sean Stiles, Earth 8.
Boy, just plant a tree seems easy enough, right? And I'm always the one like fishing them out of the pool to save their lives. So important. Sean, thanks. Well, it was just a few months ago now, back in November, when we showed you a great white shark that had washed up dead on the shore at Torrey Pines Beach. An expert told us that the shark appeared to have been hooked by a lure. Now a new state law is in effect designed to protect the sharks. CBS 8's Ariana Cohen explains how it'll work.
A new law is in effect in California after an 8-foot-long great white shark washed ashore at Torrey Pines Beach in November last year. I spoke with the director of the Shark Lab at Cal State Long Beach, Dr. Chris Lowe.
When there are things that we do as a society that harms those, it's good to see people stand up and say, you know, this isn't acceptable. We've got to do something different.
The new rules went into effect January 1st. The use of shark bait, shark lures, or shark chum to attract a white shark are prohibited, according to the California Fish and Game Code. Fishermen are also banned from placing those fishing items within 1 nautical mile of any shoreline or pier where a white shark is visible or known to be present.
So if they know they're fishing in a place where white sharks are common, like a certain nursery, then they could be cited for doing that, especially if they even accidentally catch a white shark.
Dr. Lowe also says the new law not only protects white sharks, but also protects people.
You have 2 water users that are conflicting with each other. You have swimmers and surfers and folks out there enjoying the beaches. The sharks are there using that as nursery habitat. But at the same time, some fishermen want to be able to fish there using methods that could hurt somebody. So that's where I think the law will help protect white sharks, but also more importantly, protect people.
The law only applies to white sharks. Fishermen can still fish for different species of sharks. If you break the law, the penalty is a misdemeanor offense of up to 1 year in jail and/or a maximum $1,000 fine, according to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Ariana Cohen, CBS 8.
Yeah, protect the bees and the sharks. Ariana, thanks. Well, a San Diego woman lost the will to speak when she was a child after her mother died. Now she's sharing her story. As we take you in the Zevely Zone, Jeff visits just in time for foster youth in Mission Valley.
For anyone who has spent just one day in foster care anywhere across the nation, there's a wonderful staff and woman waiting for you just inside this store.
Welcome to our front desk.
When young adults in foster care turn 18, looks like if somebody's hungry, you can cook them a meal.
Right, we have a full kitchen.
Just in Time for Foster Youth is waiting.
This is where we first receive our young people.
Simone Hids Monroe knows firsthand what it's like to live in foster care.
That's my mom. This was our last photo taken together as a family.
Simone's mother died when she was 13 years old, and for 2 weeks, she and her siblings lived alone. Is that legal to do that?
To be on our own at that age? Absolutely not, no. It wasn't legal, but it was the only thing we knew.
Their mother's dying wish was for the 4 of them to stay together.
When my mom passed away, I just stopped talking.
The will to speak slowly returned. Fortunately, the siblings were allowed to attend San Pasquale Academy, a residential high school for foster teens.
I had a really positive time in foster care and at San Pasquale Academy.
Simone became the valedictorian, and then
I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I got my master's following at San Diego State University. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our Chief Empowerment Officer, Dawn Wells.
Hi, Dawn. Nice to meet you. Dawn first met Simone when she was just 17.
She was the captain of the basketball team. She's always had that presence, you know.
A presence that makes young adults feel like Just in Time is family.
Nobody does well if they're disconnected. And the biggest gap that exists for young people in foster care is they're disconnected.
If you need a job, a place to live, or something as simple as a shower, walk through this door.
Everything that a family would provide their children is what we do here at Just in Time.
It sounds to me like you found your voice.
Absolutely. I think my mom would be really proud
of a sibling 4-pack.
Hids Kids Baby Edition.
That proudly calls themselves the Hids Kids. Hids Kids?
Hids Kids.
Picture after picture. Look at you guys.
Hids Kids Christmas style.
Year after year. Hids Kids?
Hids Kids.
You stuck together?
Mm-hmm.
In the Zevely Zone, Hids Kids.
Yes.
Wow.
It's a good group, huh?
The best. Jeff Zevely, CBS 8.
I have goosebumps. Great story, Jeff. Simone's husband also grew up in foster care. The couple recently bought their first home. We do have more information about Just in Time for Foster Youth. Just visit the Zevely Zone on CBS8.com. As always, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for staying informed. Be sure to join me each week as I take you around San Diego. For CBS 8, I'm Jenny Day. Take good care.